Okay, so this is just the draft design for an advanced portable computer. The technical term used for this class of device is a subnotebook. When I first designed this back in May of 2009, my idea was to just create an advanced ebook reader, but since then the release of other products have kind of inspired me to maybe think a little bit more outside the box and create a device that is not just a dedicated e-reader but actually is like a portable computer with a Wi-Fi connection and so forth. As you can see from the inspection date here, which is hard-coded into each object, I created this initial draft on May 7th, 2009. All the objects in the design confirmed that that was the date this was released. I just wanted to point out this is the Microsoft Courier, which these design images were leaked to Gizmodo a while back, and as you can see, the design is quite similar. I don't think that's a conspiracy or anything. It's just an example of design convergence. And there's definitely a market for this kind of a design. And the thing I wanted to point out initially is that the design is specifically created to mimic a standard paperback rather than like a smaller cell phone form factor or a ridiculous larger kind of magazine size form factor like the iPad, because ideally if a device isn't portable, it's pretty much useless, and that doesn't include putting it in a handbag or anything like that. Portability is being able to stick something in your back pocket or carry it around with you. I think that's true portability. Something like the iPad is never going to be able to achieve that level of portability. So, yeah, just a few things to point out. Interesting that the Courier appears, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell from these crappy low-resolution leaked screenshots, but it appears to use the same hinging system that I designed for my reader, which is a very advanced kind of hinge that you don't really see in any device, any modern electronic device. Basically what it allows, as you can see from, this is the expanded version and this is the collapsed version. Basically what it allows for is to collapse the design on top of its own form factor so that there's no additional overhead. Usually with a standard hinge, fixed hinges, these are floating hinges. With a standard fixed hinge, you actually increase the size, the form factor of the device when it's open by the width of the hinge. That is not the case with these floating hinges. They basically collapse onto themselves so that there is no additional overhead, and they also allow for greater flexibility. You can move each side up and down independent of the horizontal sort of alignment, which is quite nice. It gives it a more organic sort of like book feeling, as opposed to a fixed hinge, which is basically totally stuck either way. And basically what I was thinking with this device was kind of like something that's similar to a Nintendo DS, only more advanced, higher resolution with dual touch screens, more memory obviously, and vastly improved battery life. And that's one of the reasons that the device is so bulky. It's not bulky enough to where it's going to be obtrusive and you can't fit it in your pocket, similar to a paperback, but it's definitely bucking the trend of sort of everything being as thin as humanly possible, which is really kind of, in my opinion, stupid, because you're really wasting a lot of space that you could be, putting more features into. For example, these entire top and bottom sections are free. You can put an extra lithium polymer battery in each one of those. That would extend the battery life of the device by about 20 hours. That's something you can't say for like an iPhone, for example, where you actually have to buy an external battery pack, which is kind of ridiculous. And why not build that into the device and add a little bit of width on? I mean, there's no reason for a cell phone to be like as thin as a dime, and it's not going to hurt to make it a little bit thicker as far as form factor. So anyway, that's pretty much the overview of this design I'm working on. Ultimately, what I want to do is incorporate solar panels into the top and bottom for trickle charging, and potentially, although it's definitely not going to work with this hinging system, I was thinking of putting some kind of dynamo with a collapsible crankshaft, so that you could basically crank charge, which would be pretty cool. Or potentially just harness the kinetic energy of opening and closing. I've seen several devices that use that principle, although just as prototypes, never actually as final release products. So yeah, that's pretty much the overview. I'll just give one more quick schematic kind of view so that you can see the internals, although a lot of these are unnecessary to the design just because of the limitations of the platform I used to do my draft design. Like these bevels, obviously they don't need to be half spheres, they would just be well, it's impossible. Like I said, it's basically impossible to do certain things with Second Life due to the extremely primitive geometry. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.